Oh, hello there. Yes, well, good grief. I guess anything can happen in the next half hour. Except it probably won't. Yeah, lots and lots of things going on. The world appears to be running and sprinting around us, whilst at the same time our own particular localised area appears to be very, very static. Yes. My poor old pussycat has been forced to live with the indignities of a very soft collar, which is kind of cute, but at the same time desperately sad. Anyway, I was reminded of the John Cooper Clarke poem, Daily Express. You never see a nipple in the Daily Express full of pornography, the kind that's clean. And we had the Sunday shows. Camilla Toomey, who meets Richard Tice again and again and again and again. It's every week, and he never has anything to say. Never has anything to say. And I think it's actually starting to not work because all of the, well, accelerationists, one might say, are getting a bit hacked off with the fact that it appears that they just simply aren't going to be brutally right-wing enough. Anyway, we had this particular one caught my eye out of the half dozen quotes that were put up. Not that, Reform are simply operating the channel as a propaganda machine. No, of course not. I mean, they allow loads of other people from extremely right-wing parties on as well. Anyway, there are far too many people, frankly, who need to develop a lot more resilience, as Camilla Toomey asks Richard Tice if Reform UK asks nicely, would cut benefits for people seeking them on mental health grounds. Yeah, because nothing says, getting better if you have mental health issues than, loads of anxiety being piled upon you about your finances. I can't see any problems with that, and I'm sure that it'll work. Just very much the same way as I'm sure that the National Guard will sort out everything that isn't really happening in California. I have the feeling with that one that we might well find that a Dutch communist was behind a lot of the fires. Might need some special powers. Anyway, history fans, yeah. I mean, just a sense of utter limbo about other things. I mean, we do have a lot of farcical stuff across the political spectrum. We had this from Darren Grimes, who so far, in terms of, really leading the council up there in Durham towards a bright future where they're really saving people a great deal of money. So far, savings include one pride flag. Have now decided not to fund the local pride parade at all, which is, priorities, anyone? Well, Durham families choose between heating and eating. The Lib Dems are campaigning to save a parade. Yes! Just think of the money we'll save by not, acknowledging that a certain percentage of the population that actually vote for us might be gay. Yeah, can't see that one backfiring politically. Still, never mind, as I say, just think of the money that we're saving with that. Lots of that kind of thing going on. We have Greta Thunberg sailing into what probably in one way or another will mean trouble. So, unfortunately for ardent Zionist Zoe, she had to take some precious time out of shopping in Waitrose to go and talk about it. And you can see the enormous hassle there is amongst people like her about, imagine having to stop things on Sunday, like, buying Tupperware in Waitrose. But we had this. All Israel is doing is what any normal country would do in these circumstances, try to repel these people with an enemy agenda. Yeah. So at the time of writing, one might say, that one was still up in the air, but the Israelis undoubtedly will stop the boat, probably in international waters, and I don't know where it quite goes from there, because it's a British registered boat, which leaves various legal things up in the air, which no doubt the British government will desperately hope that no one notices. Some of us will, of course. Yes, still, you don't want a young woman with an enemy agenda, turning up to starving people delivering food. That would just be evil, wouldn't it? Yes, anyway, in wider nonsense, it's been revealed, Daily Telegraph of all places, that the government's going to cut nursing training courses. NHS to rely on migrants as government cuts British nurse training. University funding frees medical courses will leave UK more dependent on foreign workers. Yes, you really can't make this stuff up, can you? Do you remember, you may remember a long time ago when Brexit happened. Then all that was going to happen was that these foreign workers would be displaced by local British people. We'd train them up if necessary, wouldn't we? No, of course not. This is the logical end extension of austerity. There were pieces in a variety of the newspapers yesterday about how run-down British towns are. Well, yeah, that's what happens if you allow the market forces to play rampant with localised economies. You could decide not to do that through, government action, but that would be communism, so we can't do that. And everyone stares around them and thinks, isn't it an absolute load of old stinking poo, everything that I can see? I wonder why the government doesn't do anything. And the answer is because that would be giving in to Lenin and the Trotskyites and Mao. You see, when they talk about woke, that's realistically what they mean. They don't care about whether or not you live in a poor community in the north, so long as they're okay in London. That's the issue, yes. Anyway, utter absurdity with the private sector. We had this, which again in the Guardian made me smile. Bidders demand Thames Water granted immunity over environmental crimes. Exclusive ransom note request would leave Environment Agency unable to prosecute company or management. Yes. Now, you might think that there's a very, very, very simple way around that. That ends in a word that ends in isation. But you'd be a fool, obviously, because of course if we do go down that route of basically picking up Thames Water for a quid, then it leaves open all sorts of very, very awkward questions for this government, which embraced the free market under Tony Blair. And there's no way that Mr. McSweeney's government is going to do that. So this one will drag on and on and on. Still, never mind, it's only our taxpayers' money, as the right-wingers like to say. Still, there are odd shards of light yesterday, one might say. And the world has gone to hell in a handbasket when you find yourself agreeing with Richard Madeley. But we had this on Friday from himself. Let's get one thing straight about Quran burning asylum. They spell Quran right, which is good. None of that K business. Anyway, burning asylum seeker Hamid Koskin. Yes, because basically what Richard was saying is, he was just being an absolute arse that was realistically asking to be arrested. Yes. But of course the comments underneath don't really particularly agree with that, because apparently so long as you're the right kind of brown person or the right kind of asylum seeker or the right kind of person coming here, taking our benefits and not being able to speak English, then it's all absolutely fine, because them's the rules. Yes, you see, you can just make it up as you go along. Bit like President Trump, bit like Zoe Strimple, bit like the government, certainly like Kemi Badenoch. It's up to individual employers if they don't want the burqa. It's going to shift that level of responsibility, because it's an absolutely no-go zone in terms of any form of legality that's going to work. Still, never mind, that's just me knowing things, isn't it? Anyway, do have a glorious start to the week. Hurrah! Start to the week, hurrah! Yes, must be summer. Facial hair's disappearing.